the need essentially arises from the French Air Force for an interceptor capable of taking off to reach an optimal interception speed and height, and to shoot down Soviet bombers intending to attack French soil. In other words, a pure interceptor. The Dassault Mirage III was produced in large quantities, both for the French Air Force and for a large number of export customers, experiencing a long life with many of these operators. And it participated in numerous conflicts such as the Six-Day War, Yom Kippur, the Indo-Pakistani conflicts, and Falklands. Welcome to a new Aeropedia of the World of Aviation video. The Mirage III family has its origins in a series of studies carried out by the French Ministry of Defense, motivated by the experiences of other nations in combat acquired during the Korean War. The French government then requested a lightweight, all-weather interceptor capable of quickly ascending to the altitude where large bombers flew. 3 different French manufacturers decided to respond to the specification: Dassault, Aviation, Sud-Est and Sud-Ouest, 3 separate French companies. Dassault presented their proposal, the MD-550. Mystec Delta, a rather small aircraft with 2 turbojets and rockets for shorter takeoff time, and the pure Allen Delta tailless. But it turned out that its takeoff run was quite long and it couldn't carry much load. However, they realized that the Allen Delta was a design with many advantages. It is simple, easy to build, and relatively robust. It provides generous amounts of internal volume for fuel tanks and is capable of reaching supersonic speeds at level flight. The Mystec Delta first flew in June of '54 and was able to reach a top speed of Mach 1.15. After the initial flights, it received a redesign which involved the incorporation of a rocket engine and several minor changes. It was at this point in 1954 that the aircraft was named Mirage, which means mirage in French. The prototype achieved a speed of Mach 1.3 in level flight without rocket assistance and Mach 1.6 using the rocket. It could only carry 1 air-to-air missile. It was too small to carry useful armament, so the design was cancelled. The company then considered producing an enlarged version known as Mirage II, which would have been equipped with a pair of Turbomeca turbojet engines. Gabiso. But it was never built, as it was set aside for a more ambitious design, being 30% heavier than the original Mirage one. This design was called Mirage III and was powered by a newly developed engine, the Snegma Aether, capable of generating up to 43.2 kN of thrust. And did the French government really like this? At first, like its predecessors, the Mirage III was equipped with a booster rocket engine, which it ended up not using. Its first flight was on November 17, 1956, and during its test flight it reached up to Mach 1.52 in level flight. The prototype was equipped with a pair of manually operated intake shock diffusers, known as Sugis, or also called mice, that moved manually. The pilot moved forward the position of the Sugis when the plane accelerated in order to avoid reducing the turbulence at the engine air intake. In slow flight it has a delayed position backwards, and in supersonic flight it moves forward. Thanks to this system, the first Mirage III was able to reach a speed of Mach 1.8 in 1957. Another detail that we will address in a video just about this is the separation that the intake diffusers have from the fuselage. This separation is used to separate the laminar flow that goes along the fuselage from the engine intake or diffuser. The success of the Mirage III prototype resulted in an order for 10 Mirage III-A houses. This production aircraft was almost 2 meters longer than the Mirage III prototype and had an improved ATAR 09B engine capable of generating post-combustion thrust of up to 58.9 kN. It was also equipped with a Cyrano IBIS air-to-air interception radar and braking parachutes to shorten the landing distance. The first Mirage III-A flew in May of 1958, managing to reach Mach 2 speed. Point 2 was the first European aircraft to exceed Mach 2 in level flight. The first major production model, the Mirage III 100 first flew in October of '60. It was half a meter longer and was armed with a pair of 30mm DEFA cannons and had 5 attachment points for weapons or supplemental tanks. To perform its interceptor function, in the belly of the Mirage III, practically in the back, a ventral camera was housed. Omera 61, an extra 545 liters fuel tank. And although not all countries bought it, it could be disassembled and replaced with a rocket system that allowed to reach the Mirage III. A height of 35,000 feet, that is, approximately 10 kilometers, and in just a minute and a half. It is a single-engine, single-seat design by Allen Delta. It had a maximum takeoff weight of 21 tons and had a range of 1,200 kilometers with internal fuel tanks. Its maximum speed was 2,350 kilometers per hour or Mach 2. Point 2, and it had 5 anchor points to carry up to 4,000 kilograms of armament. The French Air Force acquired a total of 95 Mirage III 100, but they also requested a 2-seater version for training, which they called Mirage 3B. In this one, the cannons were removed and it was extended by almost a meter for this second crew member. While the 100 model was still being manufactured, Dassault developed a new version called Mirage 3E, like the one we have here. 30 centimeters longer to equip new avionics, more modern, more fuel, and with a new air-to-ground radar, Thomson CSF 02. It also had a Marconi Doppler navigation radar of English construction on the lower part of the fuselage, under the cockpit. It first flew in '64 and by '71. This variant had become the most exported version of the aircraft. The Mirage 3R was derived from this with up to 5 Omera cameras in the nose and no radar as a reconnaissance variant. A curiosity of the design that I'm showing you here. It's like how the wing tips or tip ends curve downwards. As the angle of attack increases, the wing begins to turn into a huge air brake. And this can lead to a stall of the device, which begins at the wing tips or tips. This makes it very possible that the plane will be pushed to its limit in its flight envelope during air combat maneuvers. To reduce this effect, the Mirage III's wing has a certain curvature and different thicknesses in the wing. On the same wing, there are control surfaces called elevons that can function as ailerons. Actuators beneath the intra-tooth wing move these elevons. The main export customers for the Mirage III 100 built in France were Israel and South Africa. After Israel's remarkable success with the Mirage III 100, this aircraft's reputation greatly improved and its low cost made it a successful export. A good amount of Mirage 3E were also built for export, designated according to each country. For instance, Mirage 3EA for Argentina, Mirage 3EBR for Brazil, EE for Spain, EB short for Venezuela, and so on. All with minor avionics variations tailored to each country's preference. Australia produced two licensed variants of the Mirage 3E, Interception and Attack. There were many derivatives of this excellent machine, such as the Mirage 5, which was an order to Dassault from the Israeli Air Force, the Mirage 50 derived from it. All of these are going to have their videos separately, as well as the variants built without license by Israel, such as the Kafir, the Dagger Finger Neger, and the South African Atlas Cheetah. I'll do those videos separately to keep them short and clear. That's not considering other derivatives like the Milan, the vertical takeoff Valsac, or the Rose. All unique aircraft that I plan to feature on the channel. The three Mirages from the Argentine Air Force lacked in-flight refueling systems. In order to reach the islands, which were 700 kilometers away from the nearest airfields. So they could only stay between 5 and 10 minutes over the islands and always at height. The Mirage 3EA entered combat against the Sea Harrier fighter, reconnaissance, strike, one of the British Royal Navy or the Royal Navy. Several Argentine Mirage 3s and Israel Aerospace Industries, daggers of Israeli origin, were flown until their retirement in 2016. These are the videos I've always wanted to make, but couldn't due to the pandemic. Until the next installment. The concept is to converse with the planes and showcase features or curiosities that can't always be captured in photos or videos. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Marcos and this is the World Aviation Aeropedia. Thank you.